everyone who wants to know what Humble Bundle is in the first place, it's like they sell games, ebooks, softwares, and other digital content, just for TLDR. So what happened was they had accidentally listed the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for free.
Ooh.
And so a whole bunch of people got it, the Steam key, started playing it. And because they realized their mistake, Steam removed all the people's who had it. They removed it completely from the Steam library. So even if you opened it and you already accessed the game and you started playing, scrubbed, gone. So you no longer have it. So like that's terrible because one, it's like, okay, so you don't actually own anything that you technically buy on Steam because remember, it was already added to their Steam libraries. And this is just like a horrible consumer L because you don't own anything that you buy. Even if it was free, you still got it. So the error here lies with Humble Bumble, and they should be paying for the whatever ramifications it was, not the people who bought the game and are like the gamers here. That's just it's a shit situation because it was a mistake. But like, all right, deal with it. Not remove it from people's libraries. That's not cool.
Now, RGT, I know you're a fan of Indy, the new Indy game, yeah?
So good, dude. It's so good.
What do you think about this situation? The idea, like, if
first off, how did like nobody at Humble Bundle realize this? Like,
yeah, huge oversight.
Like, where did you get access to those keys to distribute to people?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, I think it was like an accident. It must have been because they were supposed to be listing them for a specific price, but they listed it accidentally as free. So that's where the error is. But it's like, how did no one see that, right? So crazy.
Yeah. Wow. I agree with you, Blabs. I think that Humble Bundle should be on the hook for the revenue for those games. If you accidentally hand it out, boom. Like if 100 people got it, you're paying $100 for each one. That falls on Humble Bundle, which, by the way, is owned by IGN. Just for the record.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
And Ziff Davis. Yeah, they acquired them several years ago. But the idea of revoking all those keys, okay. It says... Humble Bundle now has revoked all the keys, releasing a statement saying that due to a mistake in the provided pricing for the game was incorrectly marked as free, in a move that understandably, but also reminds us of the ethereal nature of digital ownership. Humble not only deactivated the Steam keys in which it was given, but revoked the game even after it had already been activated in Steam's players' libraries. That's crazy. Like, can you imagine being like, you're in the middle of playing through this great adventure, and just right in the middle of it's like, you no longer have access. You have been revoked access to this game.
I'd be pissed.
Oh my God.
That's why I have Game Pass though. So I just got it on Game Pass. I almost, that game is actually very interesting to me because I know there was a lot of controversy around the reviews and how, the embargo went up when the game went live. If you bought early access for it. So a lot of people, and rightfully so to some degree, thought, oh, well, the game's not going to be very good then, because why would they do this? But I think that was such a faux pas by Microsoft, because as scummy as it is to say, if reviews would have came out like a week earlier and, been generally positive, and, you could at least, even if you don't trust the review process, you could at the very least watch a review on mute and see the gameplay footage to see if it's something you're interested in. I think Microsoft and Xbox left money on the table because I wasn't going to upgrade it, right then and there because the reviews were good. But if the reviews came out a week earlier and it's like, oh, well, I can play this game a couple days early, like, okay, sure, $30, whatever. Like that was such a bizarre decision to me. And I get it. Sometimes there are games that you see that when the review embargo is so close to the release, like, yeah, it raises eyebrows, but that was just a dumb decision by them, dude. Like, ridiculous.
I think it's a bad look when you hold your reviews up until when the game is released, which I think led to a lot of, given what we've seen over the last year or so, we've seen with these games that people have grown weary of video games from an entertainment standpoint, and there's like this idea that they want to know what they're getting into. And when you don't have somebody telling you, hey, this game is good or it's bad beforehand, and you hold those reviews, it's not a good look. And we've all seen that. So yeah, I'm with you. That game is a unique case where all the talk about it leading up to it was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. And then it's released and people are like, it's good. And people are like, it's good? that doesn't make any sense at all based off of everything leading up to it. The marketing on it wasn't spectacular. But I'll say this, the game hasn't performed very well, at least from a Steam perspective. And I realize it's on Game Pass and we don't have the Game Pass numbers, but we did see that the game has like less than 15 at its peak had less than 15,000 players over on Steam, which I would say for an IP like Indy Jones is lower than I would expect. Which brings us to another point in the conversation of like, and you and I, I grew up on Indiana Jones. For me, The Last Crusade is like the best of the Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones, and everybody has their favorite of the original trilogy, and like the last two are people just kind of forget about. But there's this thought that was thrown out about like the Indy Jones IP being not nearly as valuable as people think it is. When I saw an Indiana Jones game was coming out, I was like, oh, cool. But when Blab saw it, she was like, who's Indiana Jones?
Right.
in so many terms, right? Well,
What do you mean?
I meant in so many. I meant you as a metaphor, Blabs, the 28-year-old. So
How dare you? I am cultured with my man Indy. Thank you very
yes,
much.
so cultured, so cultured.
Well, I think the last movie obviously didn't help things. People are definitely leery of Disney stuff. You just had Star Wars Outlaws come out, which was not a good game at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just was not good. And so, there was definitely hesitancy towards, it's like if Disney does a new show, a lot of people are like, why are you doing that?
Right.
But occasionally a blind squirrel gets a nut. And like, I think Indiana Jones, it's probably the best thing I've played this year.
Really?
My hierarchy was actually Batman Arkham Shadow VR was my game of the year because I'm kind of a Batman fan, but I thought it was very well done and it actually felt different than, a lot of the other things I played this year. And then before that was Astrobot, which, Astrobot is great, but at the end of the day, it's a 3D platformer. It is what it is. But a lot of the games this year, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I know people love that game, and a lot of it comes from the nostalgia of Final Fantasy VII, but I think that game just has so much padding in it. Like, once I got to the beach and I needed bathing suits, but I couldn't buy bathing suits. I had to do side missions to acquire bathing suits, but I could go in that same town and buy a sword. I was like, what are we doing here?
Right.
And I get it. You got to elongate things because it's just a portion. But yeah, I think Indiana Jones is great. Nolan North sounds exactly like Harrison Ford. And I think what makes it great to me is after playing something like Star Wars Outlaws that did not feel anything like a Star Wars game, this feels like an Indiana Jones game. Like there's the dry humor, there's the locations, there's the music play, dun, 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 using your whip and stuff like that. It's super, super enjoyable. And there's actually quite a lot to do in the game too. I was amazed at the amount of side quests that you have in certain areas in it. And I think once you beat the game, you can actually go back and redo those. And I'll probably do them because I've been thoroughly enjoying it.
Nice. Well, currently right now over on Steam, the game has just under 8,000 people playing it. Like I said, Steam is not the primary platform for this. We talked about that at length. It's definitely a Game Pass game, which goes back to another conversation of like, how are they making money off this game? If you only have, 13,000 people, playing this game over on Steam, and it's available on Game Pass. I don't know the economics of do you know anything about the economics of Game Pass? Like how developers and publishers are paid out with that?
So, did I say the wrong name for the voice of Indy? I'm sorry if I did. I said, who did I say? Nolan North?
People make mistakes. It's okay.
Whatever. Well, to be fair, when I first heard it, I thought it was Harrison Ford. I was like, how did they get into there? And
right.
I don't follow that kind of stuff like that. So Game Pass.
Troy Baker, by the way.
Troy Baker. My mistake. So Game Pass, the way Game Pass works, at least on some level, is Microsoft will actually, like, if you're I don't really know the first party perspective of it, but from the third party perspective, they essentially are like, we want this game on Game Pass. We will give you this amount of money. Take it or leave it. And like
Okay.
that's kind of how it works. But with a game like Indiana Jones, like you're right. I think that's probably why it's releasing on PS5 in spring of 2025, because going back to the Disney thing, that's expensive. A
Yes.
Disney property is very expensive. You saw it with how much money Ubisoft is losing from Outlaws, and they're trying to salvage the game by, now you don't have to do stealth. It's like, bro, that was a core mechanic of the game that you completely 180 shifted on. Like, that is crazy. But so they got to make up that money somewhere, and it's honestly been an age-long question with Xbox without having game sales, really, because even if you look at a third party game, the Xbox consumer for the most part has been trained to not buy anything. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but most of them just lean into Game Pass. And you see it. Look at a third party game that comes out on all three platforms. What is always the smallest sales portion?
Yeah.
I guarantee you it's Xbox.
I can confirm that. We have an insider who works for a big box retailer that has over 900 stores, and every time they send me information, it's broken down by PlayStation versus Xbox, and PlayStation is 4x the amount of Xbox games for sure. Well, that's awesome. I mean, I think I'm glad that game's going good. It's a damn shame that people can't play it now because of Humble Bundle's mistake.